the place. This is the place it was. This is where I left. I left their house. All I had with me was my little black bag and about $2 in change. As I was leaving the house, I noticed this little, very appropriate sign on the door. It said, I can't remember what it said, something like, I've been abducted by aliens, they've taken me away and I'm never coming back. See you next Friday. And I thought it was put there in case I decided to leave, which I had. The door locked behind me, and I thought if I wanted to, I could knock and go back in. But I did want to, but I could still remember why I wanted to leave. I'd taken my first step out of my utopia, which was very terrifying. It terrified me, and I can't believe I did it. I guess I should probably explain who they are. Well, if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say they, then you probably think I'm crazy, but if you do know about them, then you know what I'm talking about. We're talking about the same people. It's them. Okay? It's them. We are talking about the same people. You know what I mean? When I say they, them, it's they. It's them. First thing I did was to head for the train station. It's down that way to the left. I just wanted to get the hell out of there as quickly as possible. And I got to thinking, if they had gained control of my life for so long without me realising, then who's to say that they haven't done it to everybody else? They wouldn't let me catch a train. They wouldn't want to make it easy for me. Besides, I'd been gone for so long. That would be the first place they'd look. I was using my only chance and I didn't want to blow this by behaving predictably. I started to look around at other people. It was just after sunrise, so the only kind of people I saw were early morning joggers and washed out people like myself. The washed out people would have most likely been sent by them. And the straight people, well, they would have had no idea where I was coming from, and if they did, they would have been right to stay well away. Every time I turned a corner, one of them was standing about 20 meters away, keeping an eye on me. It was like that painting by Munch. Now I noticed that the streets weren't arranged in the same way as they were when I went into that house. Of course, I'd been in there for quite some time. It was pretty bad though. Like when I came out, there were all these weird people trying to run me down in cars, and like people on the street would give me very dirty looks, as if they had rearranged the streets in order to get me lost. If it weren't for Stefan's penis standing proud and tall and surrogate, I would never have found my way. I was the only person in sight when I walked across this bridge. Everyone else had taken, shelter from the scorching sun that had popped up. I could have sworn the sun had, stopped. Perhaps the earth had stopped, and we were destined to bake into a desert. I needed shelter. And here comes a challenging bit. They knew where I was going. They knew everything about me. I was going to the symbol of protection that had been beaten into my brain since youth. The church. There was pretty much only one way to get there from the house where I was, and they were lining the path in force. Now, the only advantage a person like me has is that they can't touch you unless you let them. So I figured if I just stick to this yellow brick road here, I can get to where I'm going faster and I can just ignore all the demons. It wasn't all that easy. Like, they actually called me by name. I remembered that I thought if they looked at me, they would have me. All they would have to do was look at me and they would have me. Visual sirens. I remembered that thing about walking through the valley of, it ends with I shall fear no evil. I remembered that. And I thought, obviously I'm not the first person to do this. I couldn't understand why there was such a dark alleyway leading to the cathedral. So many shadows. Things waiting to jump out at you. It's so scary to walk down. I guess it's like that to make you give up and go back to them. They control everything from outside the world. They wouldn't want to make it easy for a young person to find sanctuary. After all, they'd lose one of their recruits. When I got to the end of the alleyway, the pedestrian lights turned green, although there was no one around that could have pressed the button. They turned green all by themselves. They turned green for me. I strode across the road, up towards the steps to my sanctuary, which was closed. No sign saying back in 10 minutes, no handles, no keyholes. Who's in there? God? It must be locked from within. I looked for a way in, but it was locked up tight. It was then that I realised what it was all about. I wasn't the first person to come looking for God and finding an impassable wall. As a child, I was allowed free entry. But it was on the first day of my adulthood that I realised that once you walk away from God, you can't simply just walk back and say, I'm sorry. It's not as simple as just going to church and saying, I believe. And maybe there is no way back. Maybe there's nothing inside this locked cathedral except empty space and the echoes of your lost innocence. Or at least that's what they want me to think. So I sat down and I contemplated the eternal question, is there a meaning to life? I certainly wanted there to be one, I still do. Regardless of whether God exists or something else does or nothing, I'm stuck here. Out here with people who may or may not care whether or not they kill me. What concerned me at the time was I felt as though I was sure something had taken my soul, or at least I'd thrown it away. I wanted to be good, but I felt damned. I felt damned. So, where could I go? I could have sat around and waited all day. Waited to get in, but what I was looking for doesn't necessarily have to be found in a church. If I waited, I could have ended up waiting for an eternity. Or I could be like the guy I saw leaning against the wall. He looked like he'd been waiting here 1,000,000 years. The wisest of the wisest, where all others had failed, he was prepared to stay until he figured it out. Then again, he could be just some guy who'd gotten drunk the night before and passed out where I found him. So what could I do with myself? Could I help other people find the way, even though I was completely lost? The only way to get away from them was to change. I had to stop being selfish. I had to stop letting other people think for me. I had to stop ignoring the rest of the world. So I decided to start with the wise man. He, after all, was in a pretty vulnerable state. I walked over to him and watched my shadow fall upon him. It was a spiritual moment. It was perfect. I woke him with a touch. He would have woken to see my face, silhouetted by the sun. I had decided to become an angel. But the moment was short-lived. It wasn't long until I found out I have no idea how other people think. I have no idea of how to help other people. My conversation with the man that morning probably caused both of us more harm than good. He would probably like to forget that day as much as I would. Or I'd like to think he'd forget it, because to this day I've been very embarrassed. I don't want to think that I've given up since then. I would like to think that the experience helped me, though I have my doubts. I still find myself learning the same lessons over and over and over, but I never really learn. I'm still discovering new depths to my ignorance all the time. Sometimes I think I'm dead and this is my punishment. But it couldn't be, because I see so many others suffering more than I ever could. I still haven't found a meaning to life, but that's not surprising since I'm so young. I'm still just as lost as I was that morning. Other people seem to cheer me up, but we're all just here doing the same thing. Others seem to deal with it. Some seem to deal with it. Some people just run away from it. Some people just don't care about it. Others have to cry about it. I wish I knew what to do about it.